cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Well, good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. Welcome back to the Sovereign Soul program, a show which stands for love, levity, and liberty, because after all, love is the greatest power everywhere, and laughter is the best medicine, especially covering all topics, serious, and all matters ancient, current, and quantum, right? It absolutely is, and it's a mantra. Our mascot, the Bling'd Buddha, who you see behind me, he fully subscribes to it as he fires red pills from his 9mm and smiling, as we all should be in life, right? He's smiling with his blinged out gold and silver necklace with the digital asset token hanging from it, and of course, the Punisher tattoo on his left breast to save the children. I am your host, Brad Wozni. Welcome back to those of you again, and I'm grateful to you, divine lions and lionesses, for tuning in. Thank you for the amazing holding the line work you are doing. I am fortunate to have become a Reiki master in 2015, and my soul's purpose, having been canceled by Hollywood and many other places, is to uplift humanity's consciousness with song and story. Now, with this stated, we have an incredible show here for you today. It is all about sovereignty, and it is with my next guest, who is a top Billboard country singer, a U.S. Army military veteran, and the gentleman whose video went viral in the last 2 weeks for literally proving how, under military law, President Trump is president, the president, still president, has never lost his presidency, and Biden was not an inauguration, it was a military funeral. We will be back with Derek Johnson right after these messages from our partner Roots and how they are clinically proven with their all-natural products to save people from the toxic jabs. It reverses the effects, it protects against shedding, and heck, Zero In is the very first quantum conscious nutraceutical that allows you to tap in to higher source from your pineal gland and heck, have massive creativity and clarity. Who wouldn't want that, right? We'll be back with Derek Johnson right after this brief message from Roots. Everybody, I want to tell you about the all-natural quantum wellness products that are used by Tier 1 SpecOps warriors and healers in over 50 countries worldwide. Better yet, this is a patriotic American business that you won't hear about on mainstream news because Big Pharma can't make a penny off something all-natural and works, right? In fact, this is now shown with clinical studies from Dr. Christina Rahm that it helps reverse the nasty effects of those toxic arm thingies. You get it, right, Somers? This is Roots. So here's the thing. It also dramatically heals your gut. It skyrockets creativity and it boosts mental focus. I've been using it for 8 months. An incredible amount of insight has come into it. When you go to therootbrands.com/soul, use the code SOUL, and you'll get $15 off applied to shipping of your next order. It also increases your biosphere. As a Reiki master, I can tell you that the vibrational uplift of these products is second to none. So here's the thing. They also have Zero In product. This is what rapidly boosts consciousness with intention and decalcifies the pineal gland. What's so good about that? It also gives you incredible amounts of focus without caffeine. This is all natural. When you go to therootbrands.com/soul, use the code SOUL, you also get a new code for you and you can set up your own distributor business. In fact, around the world, there are laid off benevolent healers, healthcare heroes, parents, and now Tier 1 special operators no longer being deployed who have worked their careers to be benevolent and serve the greater good of humanity. Well, some of those people are making big chunks of money every single month by sharing these all-natural products with people, and we're seeing amazing reviews. I mean, even with the Gimme Back My Youth product, which is all natural, there's women claiming their wrinkles have disappeared in just 5 to 7 days, and they look 25 years younger. This is all natural. All of that and more when you visit rootbrands.com/soul. Use the code SOUL, and you get $15 off applied to the shipping of your second order. By the way, when you add Roots Prime shipping, it often ships within just 2 business days to over 50 countries on the planet. And this makes it easy. You set it once, it sends to you every single month. Of course, you can cancel at any time, but When you see and feel the amazing effects of the world's first quantum consciousness, nootropic, and natural detoxifier, then why would you want to?
All right, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this show. Here we are. Derek, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you aboard the Sovereign Soul Show, my friend. You literally epitomize love, levity, and liberty. And if you'd like, it would be an honor for me to read your bio. Because folks, this gentleman, if you don't know him right now, he is going to be one of those folks that you save in your phone and you want to check on a daily basis, both with his Rumble channel and his music. Now, here's the thing. Speaking of music, in the long history of country music, there's only one artist who can claim the title of shattering country music and Billboard history, Derek Johnson Country, this fine gentleman you see here. Derek is best known for his 2 Billboard hits, Real Cool, Kinda Hot, and Right Beer Right Now. I love that. That scored the strapping Texan back-to-back hits on Billboard Country Airplay, the top chart in country music. And hey, let me ask you, did you know that 99% of artists do not write their own music? Not only does he write all his music, he and Georgia Strait were the only 2 veterans of the military, both the United States Army, to score Billboard hits in 2020 in any genre, from country to pop to rock, etc. Hell, you know, those demons, Beyonce and Jay-Z, they can't even claim that. Well, Derek is the only in 2021 to do that with zero publicity, an independent artist, a sovereign soul moving forward, and shattered not 1, but 2 country music and Billboard records. And if ever made public, would be a surefire way, really, to expose the commercial radio format and system, right? The institutions that only promote those that serve their masters. Well, Derek is a sovereign soul and he serves God. And for those who know, you know, he went straight to the top chart in country music without a major record label. Could you imagine having the key formula? Every artist and songwriter moves to Nashville to try and figure out, and he has the formula to bypass all these major labels. Throughout the hustle and bustle of that treacherous and rigid commercial system, though, that the cowboy didn't ride away from his roots. His twang is still alive, it's well, and it's gonna keep getting better. It's just a little bit different, which is great. Same, but different, as they say in Thailand. Derek will be the first artist to ever expose the secrets of the monopoly and help reset the foundation of country music as we're experiencing the reset of our nation and our world right now. Derek puts a keen focus on a blueprint that outlines the covert sting operation that's been taking place visually since October of 2016 for the common, everyday, hardworking American and sovereign citizen who follows the light of God and Yeshua in the world. This is done via military law, military regulations, military orders, military symbols, and code language and optics, the Constitution of the United States, and the United States codes. Ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention because not only, as I mentioned, is Derek Johnson a United States Army veteran, he has a bachelor's degree from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and a master's in business from CSU, Colorado State University, Go Rams, in which he finished with national academic and military honors for a 3.8 GPA. And when he's not doing his thing on Facebook Live or writing and recording, you can find him kicking back on the outskirts of the outskirts, where you can catch some snippets of him cruising back roads, dirt roads, hunting, fishing, or on a beach somewhere. We have all his Telegram and all his channels down here. And I love it because his Telegram is at Rattletrap1776. Don't tread on me. Welcome, Derek Johnson, to the show, a hero for humanity standing up. Thank you, sir. It is a distinct honor, like I mentioned.
Well, my honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
You got it, mate. And by the way, not many people know, I was a junior card-carrying member of the Junior Farmer Association of Ontario and Canada. You know, but really, what that really meant is every month, you know, from in high school, you're going to a legion, and you're just a reason to, you know, have some drinks and meet some girls and do some dancing. And everybody would show up in their tractors and their pickup trucks. So it was literally like a scene out of Friday Night Lights, you know, the movie.
right? But
Yeah.
that was Ontario, Canada, right? That was, farm country for me in those years in high school. And so it was absolutely lovely. And so I love country music. Stompin' Tom Connors is my favorite artist at the time. That was like the Canadian version of Johnny Cash. So, and as you can tell, everybody sees me wearing plaid. So you call it country or not, but hey, I'm an upcoming songwriter with my films. You have been there, done that, and just crushed that. Derek, my friend, why don't you tell us what was the inspiration for your rant, brother? And in the sovereignty of the nation of the United States, why that is so important now for everybody around the world to really tap into and realize that Donald Trump has continued to remain president under military law, and that Biden and the thing playing Biden right now actually received a military funeral. Why don't we start there and you can unpack it for us then?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just, it's like when you're a veteran, I always like to highlight guys that like my buddy here, we wear memorial bracelets in memory, obviously, for guys who have fallen. And I have family members who fell in service. And it's like I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, I'm somebody, you and I were talking pre-show, I'm somebody that's for all your freedoms. I'm for you to make whatever choice you want. It's like you have to do that. But there's certain things that we as a society have to come together on. Like if we're going to fund certain things, well, we have to all agree on that. So there's certain things I think that people have just kind of taken and run with and don't really know our foundation, don't know, why we serve. And, it's like every veteran's day in the U.S., people on their social media thanking us for our service. But whenever it comes to military law, military regulations, it's like, oh man, like it's so far fetched to them. And I'm like, it's really not. No, you don't have to know all of it. But at the same time, when things like we have in our nation right now, we've reached a level of just, it's an information war, cyber warfare. No one knows what to believe anymore. Truth is untruth and untruth is truth. It's chaotic. It's like a big ball of yarn and someone's holding it up and it's just unraveling and it's going here and here and here. So, it's like I always tell people, just breathe, take a deep breath, and look, our nation was founded on military first. It's plain and simple. It's in our history books. Military came first. Military law came first. Military law came long before the Constitution. So when all else fails, I tell people all the time, military is always first and so last. We're the first line of defense. We're the last line of defense. And so it was frustrating the last couple of years talking to friends and just family. And it's nothing against family and it's nothing against friends. It's like we got to learn those terminologies again. But it's the same thing as like when they're telling you, oh, well, I don't know if I believe that, or oh, I don't know if that is true. Well, I'm strictly just quoting law. Every time I talk, I quote military law, military regulations, symbols, and then Constitution and U.S. codes that are all tangible to look up. And I always try to bring up just a simple analogy, kind of like getting a speeding ticket. Well, if you're doing 75 in a 45, they call that reckless driving. So if you tell the cop or the patrolman, you say, hey, I don't agree with that. That sign's just a suggestion. He's going to tell you to do what? Go tell that to the judge. I'm not the judge. I just caught you breaking the law. So tell that to the judge. Well, what people need to know is when you enter the courtroom, you just entered what? The court of law. All right. So you lose all your rights based off of what we've set up because you're entering the what? You're entering the court with a judge, right? He's got the command of the courtroom. But if you get to speak to the judge, you tell him, hey man, that sign's just a suggestion. Bam, that gavel's going to fall and he's going to say, pay, that's fine. Because you're dishonoring the court and you're dishonoring the judge by saying an opinion, right? Because what do we deem? Well, that 45 limit sign may be for a children's zone, a school zone, children at play, and so it's like we as a society, we deem laws, we deem orders, we deem these things. It's like you and I, we talk, it's like we have a system in place. Well, if we don't like the system, then guess what? A collective number of people have to get together in a majority and say, okay, well, we're going to change this system, or we're going to change this law, or we're going to change this. So it's like all of that seems like people have put on Congress. I've heard people for years, even in my short life, people say, well, that's Congress's job. It'll just work itself out. No, it doesn't. It don't do that. We the people means we everybody. That's not just a famous slogan in our Constitution. It's not. It's not anything like that. So it's like I tell people all the time, you have a voice and you have to learn to use it. But what you're going to come up against if you're going against guys like me, whose family have been here since the Mayflower, we love our foundation. Now, our foundation, the original foundation, supports you as a whole. It does if you'll learn to decipher the difference in propaganda and the things that have divided this nation in the last 150 years. And that's the biggest thing we have, is that people don't want to read anymore. It's like those documents that I wrote, I can't make people read them.
Yeah.
And
Can't put in a 30-second TikTok video, the entire Constitution and Uniform Code of Military Justice and Law.
Well, the other thing
Can't do this
is
in a TikTok video? Surprise, right?
Well, and the other thing is, like, it's like, not only can you not make people read, but then you can't make people comprehend or process that information. But then you can't also, the other thing I found is like, they were like, well, I respect your opinion. Nothing in my documents are opinion. What I did is I took every law that Donald Trump passed, executive order, and the acts that he wrote, and I put the links in there. One has to Google it. They just go straight right there to the documents. There's a link. Nothing in my documents go to any kind of random.com or .net site. They all go straight to .gov, Congress, and or we'll use things like I use CNN and things for optics. I use some of those sites, Washington Post, New York Times. But it's like people, you just can't make people read. And then the flip to that is they want a 5-minute explanation for a 150-year-old problem in the U.S. alone. And this goes beyond the U.S., but it's like just for the U.S. alone, you can't do that. There's just no way to break it down that short. It's like I tell people, if you care, you'll read. If you don't, then I don't know what else to do. I can't break it down. I can't get straight to the point. People get to the point. You just can't get to the point.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrated me so much, is it was mainly family and friends that was the most frustrating. It wasn't that I was looking at something online or anything of that nature. It was really, my family and friends, and they know that. They know I'm not calling them out in a bad way. They know. But maybe it woke them up. I believe it did. I've got a lot of family members who are truly awakened. And of course, the other thing I've noticed has happened is a lot of these big platforms out there have gone and changed their information where it looks like I am wrong on some things, and it's right in others. But
welcome to the game.
Well, the audio feed on one of the inaugurations, they've done changed to a 21 gun salute. They made the 21 guns start long before Biden ever got to where he was going. A lot of these, it's woken everybody in a different way. And I've noticed that we've been noticing so much stuff but if it's waking people up in the right way, then that's why I went on the rant, but
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen them change things. We're about to come up here to the date of Yeshua's conception, September 11th, the Gregorian calendar, and then Yeshua, which is, stands for salvation, which is the name renamed Jesus Christ when the Romans took over the Bible and tore a bunch of books out of it.
Exactly.
We've seen them do CGI, Project Bluebeam. And that's one of the reasons I'm on the Truth Tour, is because I'm probably one of the only or ever the only speaker who has been in New York City and the Pentagon right after 9/11 on the ground, and was already working there and living at West 57th and Broadway just prior to it from my corporate work experience after I got out of the Canadian Army and an infantry soldier. So I can literally say I've thrown grenades, I've shot light anti-tank weapons, which are laws, rockets, right? And I've set up mortars, and I've blown, and I know what explosions look like. And I can tell you from that day and from moving forward, and now it's all come out that it was CGI, and it was the holograms of those things hitting the buildings. We have 3,000 engineers who have signed it. And I bring this to the awareness of people, not just to sit here and insert the how the demons have taken over September 11th, which is Christ Yeshua's conception birthday, for anybody who really knows their Bible, their history. And it's also the same thing that's mentioned in other texts as well. And you can look at the Bhagavad Gita and why that's also an important date for a text scriptures that go back 20,000 years and beyond. All right. So this is because they play this game to hide it from you. And this is a key thing why Derek was about to share with you some of the relevant info. I've just showed you the site he referenced on all of his documentation he's put up there, which is a monumental effort. And thank you for that as well, to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, again, why it's military law that President Trump is still President Trump. There was never lost an election, has been in control of the right military, call it a Q military, the white hats, or just the military that believes in our patriots and following military law, and have not followed the United States corporation that was installed in 1871, and why Biden had a funeral. And by the way, some of your videos are awesome, and everybody definitely be checking these out because these will be shared across all podcast platforms. So whether you're listening to the podcast or you're watching this broadcast right now, stand by as Derek shares with you some of the data points on why Trump is still president, some of the data points on why Biden had a funeral on the supposed inauguration day, and by law, he can't even be the president, regardless. Why don't we start there, my friend? And I've got all your websites up here, so we can just jump into it and go to it before we also tap into a few funny memes and we get your feedback, later in the show.
That's cool. Well, so I guess we can start with, I always start with President Trump first, because I just think that people need to know that first. And then because, with a little humor here, I had mixed emotions with talking, because the uniform is sacred to veterans. It's supposed to be, because the ultimate price in that uniform is to die in it. It's like, on one side, there's a serious side, but then us veterans, we have a dark sense of humor a lot of times. So if we can, it's like paralleling the two. And so it's like getting the everyday civilian, and nothing in a bad way, but just getting civilians to understand that, look, we have a very serious side, because every day in the military is thought of as life and death. We have a dark sense of humor, because putting in environments like that, putting in a stress zone, we've learned to have dark humor and to get along in every walk of life, every different kind of religion preference, sexual preference. Everybody gets along. It's like it's a cool kind of parallel. So when I say what I'm about to say, it's like Donald Trump and the generals, the President Trump and the generals are trolling. It's optics. There's a bunch of trolling optics on the other side, which is kind of cool. But first and foremost, President Trump, by law and by military law first, and then constitutional law, the constitutional republic law, not the U.S. corporation. So there's two differences. Why I always say Marbury versus Madison, 1803, which specifically says any statute that bears the appearance of law that doesn't back the Constitution is null and void. And we've got a lot of laws that don't back the Constitution, which means they're what? They don't mean anything. And that's why you, the people, have to understand that, our foundation. So President Trump, by all military law, military regulations, military symbols, the law manual of war, you got a lot of different things that go together under the articles of the Constitution. He issued Executive Order 13848, which I think a lot of people agree with me, but we think it's the most monumental piece of paper, second to the Declaration of Independence, because it all these different things inside that one order. Declaring a national emergency. In 2018, he declared a national emergency for the future, for future elections. So how did he know to declare a national emergency for future elections if they didn't already know? All right, so there's that, and a national emergency has to be addressed by that Congress, not next year's Congress, not 2 years down the road, 3, 4, 5, 6, that Congress. They didn't address it. So when they did not address that national emergency, they also didn't address 2 more verbal national emergencies he declared in 2020. So that's 3 total national emergencies that were unaddressed by Congress, which is law. Okay. Even if they got in Congress and lied their butts off, all right, and it passed through that they lied, and even if they did that, they didn't address it one time, period. They didn't even take it to Congress. Okay. That was a violation of law. Well, when they did that, he had to what? He had to take powers of the president that people, that's why when he said being president is very, very powerful, he wasn't bragging. See, people that love drama, they took him as bragging. He was saying no, and that's why I said be careful what you wish for, because all these other orders that other presidents sign, they actually sign some things that can be reversed on them. Okay, so that's why it's powerful to discern words, and words have power. Okay, words on paper have more power though. It's one thing if I called you a name and I said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you that. But if I put it in writing to you, hey, I think you're a douchebag, you're going to be like, dude, like, you know, you got this in writing. Now you can delete it, but you forever know that I had written it out versus saying it. Big difference. So when he wrote that order, also he put in there foreign exchanges. You know, I've had some people say, I don't see anywhere in there it says November 3rd, 2020 or maritime law. United States jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, what do we have around the United States? We have state maritime borders and U.S. maritime borders. Well, maritime and water, okay, what is the law of the water? It's maritime law. So it's like, it's not, no, they didn't just write it out in Alabama slanglish. They're not going to write it out in bumpkin style, and I'll pick on my own states from. You know, they're not going to write it out, hey, we're going into maritime law. It's, you know, like Gomer Powell or something, you know, no. So it's all in this order. He put a 45-45 in there, which equals a 90 date, what they would report to an election fraud committee. How did he know to put an election fraud committee in 2018 for the next election and the next election if he didn't?
No, knowing about the Dominion voting systems.
Yeah. Knowing about the Dominion voting systems. They already knew. Yeah. So that one order. Well, when those national emergencies did not get addressed after those elections, and after they had more damning evidence of the Dominion system fraud, they had more evidence stacked up. When those national emergencies did not get addressed, and he gave Congress, he gave them the whole time, they gave them a chance to step across the line. Your crimes will be lesser if you step across now. Well, the ones that chose to stay on the other side of the line and fight this out, well, they're gonna be met with swift punishment at Gitmo. That's down the road. But what he had to do was sign what they call a PED. In order to move forward after election, he would have had to sign a presidential emergency active document, which he documented with he and his generals. Okay. And then when he got into January, which January 6th was not Trump versus Biden. January 6th is a constitutional process that our founders put into place for counting the votes of presidency. You don't just go to vote and, okay, here's the winner. No, they put steps in there just in case there were discrepancies. Imagine how brilliant our founders were, who didn't have technology, who put that step in 246 years ago before they even had computers where you could just go in there and wipe out data or add data. Just think how brilliant that was, that they put steps into place. That right there and alone is God, the bigger God, the Yeshua going, hey, I got this, you know, this is a bigger picture.
Right.
J6, then moving forward on January 6th, where everybody was focused on Nancy Pelosi and all the other drama. Americans love drama, but they focused on the drama. President Trump's over here. And also what happened, his executive order 13919 was activated, which he gave the Secretary of Defense full authorization to activate the reserve components of the military. We've never activated all 50 states reserves or National Guard at one time for one location. Ever. Never in our history have we done that. It happened on January the 6th. And then also when people saw 35,000 troops march into D.C., which is a foreign territory in military law and United States law. It's not a city, it's not a state. So they deployed, they had to be what? Because they were going into another country, they had to be they left National Guard, and they moved up to, if we want to do layman's terms, international. But it's called federalizing in the United States, and in military law, it's called federalizing. The only person who can federalize the troops to national duty, to federal duty, is the President of the United States of America. Who was president January 6th and January 17th, 2021? Donald John Trump was. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House Representative. When she was talking about the National Guard, that was a distraction. A Speaker of the House and a House Representative has no military background whatsoever. They cannot make that call. It don't matter how much she called for help. The only person who can activate the National Guard, the federal duty, is the President of the United States of America. So Executive Order 13919, they activated it. The other thing President Trump has is what they call 47 United States Code 606, which is war powers of the president. He has the right, if you go read that, I'll break it down real quick. If you go read it, though, it says he has the power to shut down TV broadcasts. He has the power to shut down the internet. If he can shut them down, he can also do what? He can control what's going out. He can make people play an optic game and keep people alone as the military is working. The other thing he can do is shut down the use of government facilities. Wonder why that fence around the Capitol building. The government facilities. It's all in 47 United States Code 606. Okay. The other thing he used was Title 32, Title 10, 10 United States Code 246, 10 United States Code 12406, which all in all, they all have different language, but they call up the National Guard, the federal duty. They have not rescinded those orders. You know, people say, well, they went back to their states. Just because they went back to the states don't mean anything. That'd be like going on a mission, going back to base, or going on a mission and going back to FOB. Just because you go back to your FOB or your base don't mean those orders have been rescinded.
That's right.
Know that the way to back it up is every single day since January 2021, me and another guy, Monkey Works, and a lot of others have been documenting these flights every single day since January 2021. So when you look at, I've got my documents that go way back, my aircraft documents. So when you look every single day, and every single day you see a National Guard out of their state or out of this country, you know that those orders are still ongoing. And I mean, because it's just, and that's the frustrating part. Like I said, that is military law. That's regulations. That's military orders. That's military operations. And that don't change until those orders are rescinded. And until those National Guard go back to doing what? A lot of people pick on the National Guard, and I hate that, but they call them weekend warriors. Well, it's because they work during the week. They have normal jobs, normal civilians, and then they have 1 week in a month of duty. Well, they ain't been doing that for over the last year and a half. The ones that are activated, they ain't at home. They're on missions all the time. They're up in the sky. We watch them. We got them logged. So anybody who's married to them knows they're gone. Now, the other thing about military, tying in, active duty and National Guard, or any kind of defense contractor or civil patrol, they can't tell you what I've told you. And anything I've said is not top secret information because it's visible to people. You can go look this up by law, and then you can get on a flight app and learn how to filter out military. And if they're flying visually, that means they're not flying blackout. If they're flying visually, they're okay with you seeing them on radar. So it's like, it's all happened right in front of everybody. It wasn't like I revealed some kind of secret to anybody. And it's like I've told people, once you learn those blueprints, you really don't need me except for optic drops every day until we get through this. But those blueprints, all I did was take law and order, drop it in one document, and I learned to condense it with my mouth. I guess I could be an auctioneer. And my ex-girlfriends say I talk too much. So there you go. You know, so I served a purpose somehow. No offense to them, but it's like came in handy being a rambler and a talker. So people want to hear it in a condensed version. Well, I've condensed it as much as you can. But
Well, old souls have a lot to say because of their experience. And in addition to that, your MOS in the military was air missile defense, Derek. So you're coming from this from multiple angles, which are all fact-based, which I love, and which is what, people, they call it the truther movement. You know what? It's like, let's just share the truth and the facts above, the FUD, right? And FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's what you can see from the Hollywood and the propaganda that comes out. So I really appreciate it. And also, in my experience, I have a friend who's a couple, and they're both, what people like to call the weekend warriors now, but I've never liked that. That's, when I was in the Canadian Reserves and I made a deal with my mom and dad, they're like, you're the firstborn of any of our family. So my parents are first generation Canadians. My parents, their parents, both sides came from France, Poland, and the Ukraine, right? Farmers from Poland and the Ukraine, and they were fleeing the Nazi war machine. And so they came to Canada, and a portion of both sides soldiered up and went back, landed on the beaches and tanks in Normandy, were doctors or nurses. This is my blood. This is my blood, just 2 generations ago.
Exactly.
Or we're in the 5.5-year flight in an air war. My great uncle got shot down 5 minutes before they signed armistice, and he got shot down over Berlin, made it through 5+ years in war, in the air, shot down, gone, missing in action. So we come at this from a passionate standpoint because this is a spiritual war. This is spiritual terrorism that has been in the shadows, that they have fuddled the facts. They have created fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And by Derek bringing these things forward and saying, hey, guess what? I've done all the work. I put it up on my website, the one I've shown everybody earlier, and you can all go and find it. You don't have to do legwork, right? On the documents.info and 76 Nation. Or if you want, you can go watch his videos and see the rants that also label this, because it's important that people realize it. My first red pill into the things where we're really, really wrong was in 2006. A mentor of mine, Derek, said, go read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Like, oh, what's that? I mean, I'm not into monster books. Like, oh no, this is like a real live monster, but it's called the Federal Reserve Banking System. 2006, I read that. Then I got introduced to a business partner of mine. We did some business together, not jointly, but together in real estate. And he was in Puerto Rico, and he shared with me, oh, Brad, you read The Creature from Jekyll Island? Well, they also didn't tell you yet that the IRS is a corporation. So not only is the Federal Reserve a corporation that's not part of the United States of America, and the United States of America is a corporation which was created in 1871, which you continue to bring to light, which they attempted to override the sovereignty of 1776 Declaration of Independence.
Well, they try to control your info too via the internet.
Exactly. Before
Donald Trump and the generals got a hold of it, I mean, you could not find the Treaty of 1871, the Wikipedia version of it, which that's what they've changed it. So you have to know what you're looking for in law books. It's Stoutenberg versus Hennick, and it specifically talks about Congress, and it talks about DC, and it talks about, it's like you have to know this stuff, which is also why they created the bar exam in 1871.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
People hear their attorneys say, the bar. No one ever thought about what the bar meant, British Accreditation Registry. So it's like, here's our attorneys. That's why I've told people, that's why when you did watch the news, when you thought it was news, when Fox used to be pretty decent years ago, when you get 2 attorneys on side by side and they're disagreeing with what the law book says, look, it's okay to have an opinion, but at the same time, when the law book says it, until that law is changed, that's what that law says. Okay. Well, it's one thing to misconstrue it based off your opinion, but or however your presentation, whatever you're saying about that law. But they've tried to misconstrue that for people, and that's why we are where we are. We're in an information war. But it's like that's the thing that gets me the most, is that people still aren't willing to read. We were on the show, Jacob, the other day, when we were talking about, we were just talking about the Department of Defense with the military tribunal book. It's 772 pages alone. And the quantum, Jason Q, a shout out to him. He's done the quantum. It's like 800 something pages.
Yeah.
So then you got the law manual of war. It's like 1,000 pages. So how people, those three things alone don't really tell you that President Trump is president still. But those three things alone, look how many pages that is. How many people are going to read that? They're not. And then if they read it, can they comprehend it? What is it saying? Can you process that? So, it takes, and this is not saying that we're all smarter than everybody, but it does take a special kind of mind to break this stuff down, put it in a little package for you, like I always use the airplane view, the 40,000 foot. And you're looking at a lot of moving pieces, people. There's a lot of stuff going on. You can't be we've created a coin phrase. You can get in on this, but you can't be a dime store truth seeker. Like, you can't pick it up one day, put it down the next, pick it up one day, this is an everyday thing. You got to read all the time. Read, if someone sends you a text, read it, like, hey, read this, or read this, or, it's like, I'm not an expert on the quantum system. I know what it is, but I'm interested in reading these 800 pages that Jason has, and seeing more about the in-depths of it. I understand the general premises of it, but something that's like, it's a great awakening. It really is. We're in a monumental biblical awakening period, an enlightenment period, like we've read about in history. If people remember reading about it in school, we heard about this era and this awakening and this era and this movement. We're having one now. And our grandkids and great grandkids, if we have them, they'll talk about it. Like, man, my great grandpa, he was a military butthole. That's what people called him. And now, it's like,
man, yeah. I'm with you on that. The rattle trap on Rumble. Would you like us to show anything specifically from this video as it pertains to what you're mentioning right now? And we've already seeded this going forward, in our brand new Telegram that we launched 2 days ago, for people to watch this. But is this where we have the Biden funeral procession in this rattle trap?
Well, that's the old one. It's like, I did the one where when I watched the inauguration, I counted 13 rounds, and then but that, of course, I told this one the other day. I put a post up and it went viral. I mean, everything on Facebook is kind of going viral now, but I said, look, if you're getting hung up on 21 guns and hail to the chief and 13 rounds, you're missing the whole point. The only thing that signified a military funeral for Biden that whole day was the 3-volley salute. That's what gives the clue away of the funeral. It's not the hail to the chief or the 21 guns, or if it was 13 guns. The clue that gives it away is the fact of the 3-volley salute, which are for military funerals. And of course, when I die, they're not going to pull out artillery for a regular soldier. They don't do that. It's just it just takes too much money, too much time. So they send rifles to funerals like ours. But for dignitaries, and for presidents and former presidents. So I tie that in. I can tie in the inauguration real quick. But Biden, what put away was when he swore in the what they, you're supposed to swear into Congress.
Right.
You look at the timestamp on C-SPAN or whichever one you're watching out there. When you look at the timestamp on it, it's 11:46 a.m. when he steps up. It's 11:47 when he's actually starts his first. 11:47 a.m. Violation of the Constitution right there. The 20th Amendment of the Constitution says a president's term is to begin and end at noon. So if it's better to start at 12:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to be for sure versus, doing it 11:59, 58, but 11:47 a.m. The other thing was it was pre-recorded. Now, the only people who know that were the ones following at the time, because they have destroyed all evidence of that. They've destroyed even a lot of Donald Trump's videos. They destroyed Donald Trump's video on like CBS and C-SPAN and NBC when he did the 2020 tour, even though, it's like they hated him, but they destroyed a lot of evidence that guys like us had to remember. And so that's why we're in a true information wars. They destroyed, people that were in control of the internet at the time, they controlled that. Well, they deleted a lot of information that you can't go back and look up. So what gave it away is you have to know military regulations. You have to know military symbols. So that was one, the swearing in, which was constitutional. Then it ain't I broke it down the other day. Like I said, the one that went viral, I said, okay, if I was wrong and I didn't hear it, or if they change the feed, which is possible because they've done this a lot since I've come out, we've noticed.
One right here.
Still, a 13-round gunfire still signifies indirect British rule. A 21 gun salute is not just for presidents. Here's how this pulls it. And this is beautiful after what happened yesterday. This is
exactly. I was waiting if you're going to pull that out right on.
You're the first show I'm going to get to do this on, and this is awesome. Even if I was wrong and I had to, you know, let's just say it let's just be honest here. And let's say I was wrong and I didn't hear 13 rounds and I misunderstood and it was 21. Let's just say I did, even though we know I have teams of people who watched it too and counted 13 way back when. But let's say, for instance, we're all wrong.
Right.
If it's just a wrong and right thing, like people like to do, you're wrong and I'm right. Okay, let's say that I'm wrong and you're right. Well, 21 guns is not just for president. It's for former presidents. It's for president-elects. It's for heads of government. And do the drum roll for me. Do your little drum here. Okay, here we go. It's reigning monarchy. What in the heck is the terms reigning monarchy doing in U.S. government? Mm-hmm. Wow. And what just happened yesterday? What just happened yesterday? Mm-hmm. The crown die? Didn't the queen die to the people? The monarchy died because you'd have to go back to know this was a plan in the beginning. Okay, a lot of these people got arrested. That's why President Trump stepped in front of the queen first time in history.
Which was amazing.
That wasn't by error. That wasn't Donald Trump being arrogant. That was a military optic. It's an optic. Okay, well, the 21 gun salute for Biden still would mean the reigning monarchy when you tie in that 3-volley salute, which signifies military funeral. So either way, the 21 gun works or the 13 gun works. It doesn't matter. Both of them represent British. Okay, so it's beautiful, actually. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? God still works this out either way. Even if I wasn't wrong, even if I didn't hear what I heard, but I did hear it. They changed me. And they deleted some of the inauguration videos. I went back, look, you can't find some of the inauguration videos now. The NBC it's gone. They've got a 6-minute clip where they just do like bits and pieces. The full footage, the 9 hours and 25 minutes, gone. Okay. So, you know, it's one of those things where, okay, well, here's why the 21 gun salute still works, because in the monarchy. And the optic was the queen. So that's why President Trump and them did this anyway. Like, this is a big optic field, and I'm not making fun of people dying. I'm not. But at the same time, I tell people all the time, if you're focusing on death, people die every day. Mm-hmm. You got to focus on the things that matter and why life matters and why we have sovereignty, why we have freedom, and how we attain that. He got a full grade military funeral service.
Yep. And he went off and he left on Air Force 2. Biden left on Air Force 2. For the president, you'd be on Air Force 1. Yet Trump has got his own. Right?
And the other thing is a lot of those planes have been decommissioned because President Trump did what? He signed a new deal with Boeing in 2017 and 2018. So a lot of those planes have been decommissioned. Well, if you and I had the money to buy one, they'll strip it of all its, cyber this and all its computer systems.
Electronic warfare, avionics.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They'll strip it down to where it functions as a regular, normal aircraft. And you and I could buy it if we wanted it. So, if you got the money, you can. Same thing with when they retire Humvees and LMTVs and when they retire these, you can buy them if you got the money for it. So, I tell people all the time, these people, they went the extra length. They bought some of these aircraft, painted them, got them painted to look like Air Force 2. All that matters is you have to know military first. And the military has never recognized Biden as president, not once. And another thing that ties that in really quick, another thing that proves that. Yeah, people always want proof. Well, here you go. Just 2 weeks ago, right before I blew up, my rant video blew up, the all military communications were transferred to the Space Force for one command. Mm-hmm. On one push button, one command. Mm-hmm. The DOD website with that article, the DOD, there's another .gov site, the Military Times, and a few other credible sources.
Yeah, I shared the Military Times article. Great.
Yeah, not some Derek Johnson knows it all.net. No, we're talking about DOD.gov. We're talking about military. All those articles that talked about the military for the Space Force, not one single article mentions the word Biden or the word president in there. Not one of them. Don't you want, if Biden was real and you thought he was really president, you thought he was a good president, don't you want the president to have, like, come on, people, like that? Wake up. You know, there's a lot of things you can just pull in that like it's right in front of everybody. Washington article a month ago, I've got it. I posted it. Washington Post. It was talking about Saudi Arabia, where President Trump was crowned king in 2020.
Yes.
Okay.
Amazing.
Washington Post just a month ago, article out about Saudi Arabia. That article, it wasn't. This wasn't a quote from the Saudi Arabians. This was a quote from Washington Post. They used the word Biden. They said Biden this, and then down it said President Donald Trump.
WAPO. Wow.
They're telling you he's president without telling you. They want you to read, people. They want you to read. You can't just read the top. It's like guys with magazines, ESPN. They want to just read, look at the picture and just see one little line. They don't ever read the articles in there. So it's like they want you to read, people. You got to read. Make reading great again.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Well, this is a great segue into our first beam. Talk about it, right? You know, right in front of your face. You know, and I highly recommend people do not go and watch this interview and or listen to it because of the MK Ultra and the signaling. But those who are in the know, they know. And I mean, enough's gone around. We just saw yesterday, and I'd posted and shared, you know, the information that came out. Look, you know, the Queen was finally announced dead. The Lizard Queen finally announced dead, 1776. 1,776 days after the first Q drop, exactly 911 days after they declared the COVID pandemic on March 11 of 2020. We all know what 1776 stands for as an amazing year, which was the ultimate thumb your nose to the Queen and the King in England, in that establishment, demonic, satanic establishment that's been around for eons, which traces its lineage back to other aspects of humanity, which also traces itself back to influence off-world, right? But right here, this is the proving America is literally the spiritual battleground for the universe. This is the biblical time that Derek was talking about. And this is exactly what we continue to share on this show. And hey, if folks, you know, think it's just America, well, hey, I talk to you right now as a Canadian, right? And here's another one, good one. Have you seen this one, Derek?
I haven't seen that. Super fast, risky. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, right? Like this meme army.
Who thought of that?
Incredible. Like, yeah, it's brilliant, right? You know, super. So I posted this on our Twitter.
I want to go back to the other one too, real fast.
Okay, yeah. Let's do that. Hang on a second. Let me pull that back up here for you again.
I wanted to add something to yours because people will love this too. Okay, it's like,
you know, I mean, they're calling us out. You know, a couple of days ago they published in this. I shared this with Derek offline, everybody. But they called out everybody who supported the Freedom Convoy in Canada and stated that they are going to be rounded up. So, hey, listen, you donated to truckers. Not only did you get your bank account shut down by GoFundMe, GoFundMe turned over all the information to dox everybody who donated during the Canadian Freedom Trucker Convoy. Now, we were deemed by, you know, the so-called Prime Minister Justin Castro, Fidel's little bastard child, as domestic terrorists. So you know what? They've already done all this stuff to us. And I just went ahead and I started posting that meme on Twitter and tagging Trudeau and tagging Freeland. And we already know, you know, that this is a character playing the current Trudeau, but still parts of those elements of evil are within that communist regime of Canada right now, my good man. So yeah, I was like, you know what else do you have to lose? What you have to lose is your sovereignty, is your life. And like Derek mentioned earlier, everybody, we may lose our lives fighting for this. I certainly hope not. But you know what? This is out there to wake people up because we are in a spiritual war. It just doesn't happen that yet tanks and people are knocking on your door to tear your children out. 14,000 of them were done in Canada already, by the way. And it wasn't in tanks, but it was in police cruisers, under the auspice of, for the child's protection. They yank them out. So they look a little bit differently in how they're fuddling everybody right now.
So with that right there,
Mm-hmm.
the listeners will know, one, you were mentioning all these numbers. So yesterday also was Q drop. It was 1,776 days since Q's first drop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that speech that Biden had right there.
September 1st, yeah.
So September the 1st, so August the 29th, the image on the Q drop was President Trump behind two Marines. Two Marines, President Trump.
Protecting it.
Bottom was Castle Clean.
Wow.
Okay, that was August 29th drop.
Wow.
The speech was September the 1st. Okay, so let me break down that speech. If you go back and look, I tell people, just Google Biden speech September the 1st. Look at the picture. The two Marines, okay? One, first and foremost, Marine, we have position of attention, parade rest, and at ease. Okay, so they would have their hands behind their backs it's none of this up front. Then their pants were very loose. Even my Army pants were tighter than Dwight Yoakam. I mean, if you know who Dwight Yoakam is, I had to used to just about lay on my bed and suck my skin. And I'm a lanky dude. I'm not big at all to get my dress blues on, and they still fit tight when I get to certain ceremonies. So there's that. You don't have loose pants. They look like 1970s bell bottoms. Okay, if you like humor, we'll just do that. But the old French flag was there. So there's optics within optics within optics. So bigger picture though, he looked like Hitler. He did this. He was balling his fist. If you look at Hitler's pictures, he did the same kind of balling of fist.
Yeah.
The red and black looked like a castle. They used to light up castles at night, right? So it's like a castle. So then the significance of it's a castle. So what does a castle have? So you have the king and two knights is what that signifies. Well, President Trump is a genius chess player. I tell people all the time. He's always 5 steps ahead of everybody else. So you're going to love this if you hadn't heard me tell this yet.
All right.
You look up, can a king and two knights checkmate? No, you can't. Watch this. This is the optics in it.
Interesting.
No matter how much you frame it, the king plus knight combination on their own cannot deliver a checkmate. Even Magnus Carlsen would never be able to accomplish this. This is because it is literally impossible to deliver a checkmate in this condition. It has been well analyzed already. Theoretically speaking, this is where it gets good. The only way to checkmate with two knights is to drive the enemy king to the corner and trap it, such in a way where it cannot move so the other knight can deliver a checkmate. However, since stalemate exists, it really wouldn't result in a win, which is why it is impossible to checkmate since the best is only stalemate.
Wow.
Look at the definition of stalemate. It means that the legal action is trapped. It cannot move forward.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, what does President Trump always say? It's a chess term. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come, which is why it is impossible to checkmate since the best is only stalemate.
Wow. Wow.
What also happened, let's see, day before, it was yesterday. No, on the 7th, what also happened right before the Queen died, right? The Queen, she's already been, anyway. September the 7th, there was a deadline coming up on September 11th for the extension deadline of the Executive Order 13848. It said it on the 12th because 12th is a Monday, but it was the 11th via that channel. Well, okay, Biden, I always put quotes around him because he ain't real. Biden extended that order on September. Just again, that's the second extension of that order. He extended it last September 2021. hit send it again.
Hmm.
Why there's an implication of that is this. Why that's why this order is so big.
Yeah.
Because they didn't address the national emergencies and they're extending it. There's still some action still left to go for the military and a few other optics. But here's the other picture. They either had to come out and tell why to get rid of Donald Trump, they'd have to come out and tell why he issued 3 national emergencies. They'd have to come out and tell in a national audience on a State of the Union, not a State of the Union, what the state of it, it'd be a national address to the nation.
Mm-hmm.
He planned COVID, okay, child trafficking, sex trafficking. They'd have to tell all the stuff they've done the last 150 years that brought to that moment where Donald Trump issued 3 national emergencies and he activated the National Guard, all 50 states, for the first time in United States history. Okay, yeah. National threat. Okay, they would have to own up to everything the last 150 years, or the other part of that order is just simply say we cheated on the election and we committed fraud on the election. Either one damns them. Now, I got a great question this week. Said, well, do they still get punished? Yeah, they still get punished, but it would be whether it would be more visual or not. Yeah. I don't know which one they chose, but it'll depend on what their plea bargain was when they were all arrested. Mm-hmm. I've been arrested a long time ago. You're watching optics now, but it depends on what option they all in each chose. But the military tribunals have been reported in New York Times, not just by Derek Johnson, but in New York Times, the military tribunals will start mid-2023. So look how close we are. We're in 2022 right now. So that's how close we are to this thing going full speed ahead and ramping up even more. So yeah. I thought that was cool for the audience because you chose that as you know, like that was what you witnessed the other night, the optics behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was just on, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you for everything you do as well. And September 1st in 1939, why is that a prominent date? Well, that was the day that Hitler made that speech and declared war on the United Kingdom. September 11, 1939, the United Kingdom declared war on Germany. And September 13th, 1939, Canada jumped in and declared war on Germany as partner. With the UK at the time. And now all the stuff is coming out about, Churchill and his Freemason and his background, and how much of a genocidal maniac he was, and all the real history is coming out and get published. Again, not the fuddled history, where I grew up as a Canadian and going into the military at 18 and saying, all right, off we go. And, I'll up and see what we can do in Yugoslavia to save people. And yeah, there's definitely genocide and stuff going on there. But what we're learning now and have been learning is it was all created, right? The forever war, the financing of that, the disparity, the keeping people apart and literally being divisive, and then having all these counter operations being run and manipulated at the institutional level, whether it was the public indoctrination camps where I went to school, Wilfrid Laurier University, and how they're doing that and requiring kids to show up and be masked and have, 3 jabs. Now Canada, they've just put out, you got to have your 5th booster to go anywhere. Right? Yet it's Public Health Canada in Ontario that has the highest incidence of deaths right now. For those that have their 3rd shot, 95% of all the death rates, related under the COVID are from people who have had their 3rd shot. That's one of the reasons we work with Roots and those great people too, because you can clean yourself up and you can get out, unplugged from the system. Final meme here for you, man. And I know this is just going to, be a great one right up your alley, because we were talking about Lee Dundas earlier and her great, great, great grandfather, Patrick Henry, who said, give me liberty or give me death. While it is still, and I speak for the audience too, while it is, we're seeing a show take place, there's still insidious demons that are in certain levels of power, are there not?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're rooting them out. We're making them show their face to the public, which is part of, like I said, like when trolls try to troll me, I'm like, you're just showing your face to the public.
Yeah, and you're going to get wrapped up.
Yeah, there's a lot more of us than there are you. You're just face, and that's what we're doing. We're flushing people out of their rat holes, and we're making them show who they truly are, not who you. And so, yeah, there's been a lot more, and people in a position where they could be hired or fired, especially. The ones that are being, voted in, you can tell that's swiftly turned. That's going the right way. But the ones that are still in positions of hiring and firing, the ones that are kind of laying low, it's like terrorists. Most terrorists, what they do is they shoot and run. They go right, they bomb something and run and hide. Versus, if look at history. The Civil War wasn't pretty at all, but at least look at the integrity of those men that face each other. They stood right in front of each other, and a lot of times didn't want to. But if you just look at the bigger picture of that, they stood and faced each other. They didn't shoot each other in the back. They faced each other. And that's the other thing we have right now. And of course, I'm quoting some other military buddies, but what's happening, and we're separating the patriots from the pansies. So it's like, you got to realize that, hey, being a patriot don't mean that you're some hard-nosed, closed-minded person. It has nothing to do with it at all. Being a patriot means you're fighting for the overall freedom and sovereignty for choices, vision, not divisive things that make people hate each other and fight each other. So that's what people have to understand, is that we're rooting out evil. This is a good versus evil. It's not a Republican versus Democrat. There's a lot of Republicans that are going to be exposed in this too. It's not just Democrats. So we just got to get that message to people that being a patriot don't mean that you're choosing a party or a side. It just means that, hey, it's the ultimate fight for humanity and the ultimate fight for sovereignty as a whole.
For the souls, the human soul. This is the fight for sovereignty. And you have great people out there like Bolsonaro, and President Trump just mentioned him yesterday in a message, in his full support. And we just saw the massive election turnout for the re-election in Brazil. Free elections, free people, where they have routed out that deep state cabal demons for the most part. I had Jack Maxey on the show, and we just published that 2 days ago. Right. And Jack Maxey, I don't know if you've spoken with him yet, Derek, but he has been dropping the hammer on the Hunter Biden laptop. Rudy Giuliani gave him the copy, and Jack was a co-host of War Room with Steve Bannon for many years. And his personal mission, he literally said, he goes, I'm devoting my life and my fortune to making sure that the information on this laptop sees the light of day and everybody is held accountable as a result of that. And, it was wonderful because he just went off, which is what we want, but yet he's got a target on his back. He's in exile. I've had a governor candidate of Vermont, Kevin Hoyt, on here many times. He had to leave the state of Vermont because, they're coming after him. Yet he's exposed the massive amounts of child trafficking and election fraud at every official's level. He's also exposing some of the other things there, in addition to that, what they don't want, as well as the harvesting of adrenochrome from the children at large multinational corporations in Vermont. He's exposed it. He's providing evidence on the RICO cases. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is a freaking spiritual war against humanity. It is one that's been hidden from you mostly in the shadows, because they, up until recently, have had virtually every position of power in a private sector and the public sector, not only the United States and Canada or Australia, around the freaking world. And we're seeing slowly the final virtues of those people in those countries standing up and going, okay, we're waking up, we're awake now. We just saw in the Czech Republic, for those of you who are awake, and then Dutch farmers, the massive amounts of people who stood up and said no. Kazakhstan, we saw that, stood up and said no. And this is what you need to do. It can't just rely on Derek being out here going on these beautiful rants and going, wow, that was amazing. And then next thing you know, you go buy your coffee at the demonic Starbucks, which, by the way, is another symbol, right? You have that demonic goddess that eats children, which they branded. And until recently, we've, really brought many of those symbols to life, as well as the pedophile symbols, on child schools and daycares, which are signals to boy lovers, girl lovers, and adrenochrome buyers, including the food industry, the manufactured food industry, and how they're grinding up child baby parts. And we've been consuming it unknowingly because they've been hiding it. Well, now we know, and we're after them. My friend, any final thoughts? And I have one last question. Share these thoughts if you don't mind. And then I have one last question for you that I ask all of my guests, and I would love to have you back on over the next few weeks. my good man, and share some updates as well, and continue to provide additional exposure. The more we keep pushing, the more this gets out there. The 100 monkey effect takes place, and it's just now in our consciousness. We don't even have to speak to people. They're picking it up, in the airwaves through our pineal gland.
Well, to validate the Brazil election, I've documented, I've got them files. We had about 3 or 4 different military aircraft in the sky down there, like nice aircraft. So things like that, I've had people say, well, shouldn't the president tell us about that? No, the president that as president told you he wasn't going to announce those things. But, and that's what you got to look at, is through history, traditional, especially Joe Biden's type people, they would announce where we would be going. So if you didn't know there's an aircraft in Brazil, then that's President Trump and our military operating. So that validates that, just for the standpoint of, we have no other reason to be in Brazil. First off, it's knowing who our allies are, knowing what we're doing in operations, and we're not in Brazil for any kind of operations except for that right there. So that validates that. That was kind of cool, because I just screenshot that on the app, just said in the last 3 or 4 days. So that's kind of cool that, it's, all these things just come together, and that's what we are as a team. Is like I told people, once you learn these blueprints, once you learn if you didn't know what was going on, once you learn the simplicities of law and order, learn the blueprints, you got to study them and read them over and over, get it down what the blueprint looks like. Then you can hop on board on these shows and hear these optic drops and understand, holy crap, this is not a joke. There's the optic, and it was in writing way back here. So it's like, it's really, like I said, it's so biblical, it's so monumental, it's so historical. We're living right through the greatest world history to this day, for us, for all of us they're walking, living, breathing. So that's just my final closure. Is just you got to read, people, and you got to discern the difference in, first and foremost, we're a nation of law and order. So then you got to understand what laws back the Constitution, and what backs your sovereignty, what backs your overall freedom, not something that divides people up. So, it's like, once we get through all that, it's going to be a unification process. It's going to be a healing process when we get through this. And we're not going to, even if you cuss me, even if you're someone who cussed me or said something, I'm going to show you what a professional soldier looks like, and show you compassion and say, look, I've been wrong in my life and had to eat humble pie myself. So, it's just part of life, and it's part of living, it's part of learning. And that's how we come together, is not getting prideful, because we know what pride does. So that's the thing that I like to leave people with. It's just like, you got to read, and you got to read it over and over, learn your laws and learn your foundation. And once you do that, you'll be able to experience this in a whole different level. I mean, it sucks we had to get to this point in one way, but God called us at this appointed time, and here we are. So, embrace it, and let's get through it.
Yep. And all the information, thank you for the message, is all on your website that we've got in the links here. I would also like to share with people, before I ask you the final question with other guests, here's your DerekJohnsonCountry.com site. So again, folks, we were all, everybody in this movement that I personally met and I've had on, we were all doing very different things when this happened. And now we're doing this to get this information out there in all its various capacities. For whomever will listen, will see his interest, to wake them up and unite those who are warriors of light. You don't have to be a warrior who's picking up a sword or a gun. You can be a digital soldier who literally shares this, because you know that there's a difference between right and wrong. That's it. And so here it is. This is what he was doing, continues to do. He's about to go back in the studio after we finish this interview at DerekJohnsonCountry.com. And he's got his 2 top hits here. What I also appreciate as well, my friend, is you came out and you did your music, and you've done it independently, and you can literally show people that you can walk a path that doesn't follow what the institution and the system says you have to do. We mentioned that earlier in the show. And you can get after it. You can follow your dreams, you can follow your passions, and also through music, because they've corrupted for a long time. I mentioned my MK Ultra speech experience when I got an award for my very first script in 2019. And I said, I want to reverse the MK Ultra effects in music, on TV, and in film, and in art. And that's why I chose to write this. Well, now I kind of know that was probably naive back then, which is why I really didn't get anywhere as I was starting out. But, pretty shortly, I'm sure that will come back. The final question to you is the genie in the bottle question. If you had all of God's power right now, and you do one thing for this world with where it is right now, what would it be?
Oh yeah, I would just I'd make people come back to compassion, and humility in the right way, not a hey, like if I had that power and I'm commanding, it wouldn't be like a hey, I know everything like that. It'd just be like we would all find that common ground that we can stand on and just go, hey, without slinging slurs and getting mad and learning that that cussing and calling people names and all this other stuff is just not where it's at. It's also getting our words back, our terminology back.
Yeah.
And then having conversation, because text messaging and all this stuff has gotten so non-social in a different kind of way that we've lost what it is to have a conversation, because so many people take being direct, being condescending, or being calling someone out for something that you can tangibly back up. Oh, right. You're mansplaining, or you're being rude, or you're this. And it's like, no, we have levels of, okay, just like in the military, if you did something wrong, you got chewed out, right? Well, 5 minutes later, you're just in a normal setting again, and you're laughing, cutting up. It's just that, I believe in discipline, and I believe in structure, and I believe in morals and etiquette and standards and values. And that's what I would like to establish again in the world, is just, there's a time and a place for everything. And there's nothing wrong with discipline and structure and values and etiquette and protocol. It's just, and I think that when people have that, it holds people accountable, and we can all hold each other accountable. And it's kind of like, like don't dish it if you can't take it kind of deal. Yeah. So it's kind of along those lines. That's what I'd want, is for people to get back to that. So.
And laughter, demons don't like it when you laugh at them, and you laugh at them for the power of love, and they're trying to riff, you right. Just laugh at them and laugh it off, right? Which right. is their key thing. Beautiful message, my friend. You can find Derek on Telegram at Rattletrap1776, True Social, Derek Johnson, Facebook at 1776 Nation. I love that. And then Rumble, the same as his Telegram, Rattletrap1776. Veteran country singer-songwriter who is crushing it all on his own, with a beautiful team back there supporting him, doing a few other things, but he literally is an independent artist. He's proving that you can walk the path of a sovereign, and literally waking people up and red pilling them with real-time information and facts that have been there for 250 years nearly, folks. And here it is. God bless you, my friend. Thank you very much for being here. God bless your team. Thank you to Kathy, your lovely manager, for keeping us connected, and us two lads,
definitely
on board. And cheers to you, and cheers to everybody in your family. Much success. Look forward to reconnecting with you down the line.
Definitely so. I appreciate you having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you guys so much.
You bet. Thank you, everybody. Please like, share, subscribe, enable notifications on this video. Be that digital warrior. Share it, get it out there, put it on all platforms to help wake people up, and check out all of Derek's information, absorb it, because it is truly wonderful. Both his song and, most especially, we're talking about right now, helps you fight back with the knowledge and the awareness on the spiritual war waged against humanity. If you lose America, then you lose the universe, not the world, the universe. All right. So we are not going to lose that. We got to stay vigilant, stay frosty, much love, many blessings.
Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our Bling'd Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.